This is day 8 of my journey of curing bipolar disorder 1 with a ketogenic diet and other behavioral changes. We are now focused on sleep, but I thought of something when I was in the sauna at the gym earlier that I want to share with you because I've been trying to articulate to people who aren't familiar with bipolar disorder, who aren't familiar with manic episodes, about what it feels like to have a manic episode and to be in the mania end of bipolar disorder. Because when you look at the symptoms and when you try to explain to people like what a manic episode is, it looks like superpowers. They say, for me, I'm like obsessed with work and I get a lot of things done, and maybe I write a book in a matter of 2 weeks. That's what I did with my third book. I wrote it in 10 days. I think it was 10 days. It was like one chapter a day for 10 days. And you can't take that away. Like, that happened. And it's hard to articulate to people like how painful it is. Like, all you see is the output. You don't see what's going on inside. And I finally, I think, found a way to articulate what a manic episode feels like. I was in the sauna, and you know when you get a rug burn that isn't so intense that it peels away all the skin and it doesn't create a big scab, and it's just like a light rug burn, maybe on your elbow, where it just cuts away like the very, very top paper thin layer of skin, where maybe you don't even notice, you can't even see a difference, but you feel a difference if it's exposed to excessive cold or even like the wind, or you feel a difference when you're in water. Imagine your entire body has that layer of like very low level rug burn, and it looks the same as normal skin, but you're missing that top layer. And you go into a sauna that's set to 115 degrees, and everybody in a 115 degree sauna is incredibly hot no matter what. But for you, it feels all the more intense because you're missing that top layer of skin. And so everybody looks at you and sees you having this different experience, and maybe you are like burning up even more than other people, and maybe that means you lose more fat than other people, and they say like, holy shit, it's like a superpower. You get to come in here and we experience the same temperature, except you lose more weight than me. Like, that's incredible. Why would you ever complain about that? And you're like, you don't understand what this feels like. This feels like 150 degrees. They're like, no, I was in there, it felt hot, and it was 115 degrees. It feels hot for everybody. I'm like, no, you don't understand that I'm missing some protective layer of me, and this feels far more intense than it does for you. That's what it feels like to have a manic episode, except instead of just being on the skin and being an exterior experience, imagine that like inside your brain. That's what it feels like. It's like being stuck inside of a sauna that you can't escape, and it might be the same temperature for you as other people, but it's all the more extreme because you don't have whatever sort of protection a normal person has. And being able to finally have that metaphor, I'll be honest, once I realized that, it made sitting in the sauna harder because it felt like the stakes were something else. I don't even know what, but I sat in there for whatever it was, 45 minutes. But so sleep was hard last night. I ate dinner at 9 p.m. and I had the same dinner I've been having recently. This is not a ketogenic dinner, but I'm keeping all of my food roughly the same as I normally would, just so I can A/B test these changes that I'm making with sleep. I had red lentil pasta, pasta sauce, chicken, and bread with mozzarella on it. And it seems to be the last few nights. The previous night, I thought it was because I drank glycine with water the night before that. I woke up in the middle of the night to pee and couldn't get back to sleep. But last night, I had some milk before bed. I ate dinner at 9 p.m., went to bed at 10 p.m., slept heavy for 5 hours, woke up at 3 a.m., which seems to be the time that I've been waking up and is roughly the time that I've been going to sleep, roughly the time that I've been eating dinner. And then I could not get back to sleep. I was tossing and turning. I didn't wake up and check the phone. I didn't go onto the computer, none of that stuff. But I was just, in my mind was going, feeling anxious about the workday today. I had a meeting to run and just feeling anxious financially, all this kind of stuff. And couldn't get back to sleep, and I tossed and turned with a few bouts of sleep until my alarm went off at 7:45. And here's the weird thing that I'm noticing is that I can see a more direct correlation between when I have the same way a couple of days ago I felt like I was fully well rested, and then it felt like it chilled me out. me getting sleep deprivation feels like it triggers these manic states where today I felt hyper focused on where it was not like a full on manic state, but it just triggers like more energy and perhaps like maladaptive energy. And yeah, got everything done that I wanted to with work. And, I'm reading I believe her name is Edie. I'm reading her book, Change Your Diet, Change Your Mind. And this is the previous ghostwriter and book editor in me. In a previous life, I was a book coach, ghostwriter, author and editor for 1 billion books like this. Not just psychiatric books, but nonfiction books of all types. She goes a mile deep into the neurological bases of a lot of this nutrition stuff, and it's all incredibly valuable, but it almost feels like it's too deep too fast. Like I want the diet stuff, I want the actions, and then I want to go 1,000,000 miles deep if I choose to. Right now I feel like I'm being bombarded with information about all kinds of stuff like refined carbohydrates and calcium and the cerebral cortex. And again, I want to know all this stuff, but I want to know it later after I have more of a groundwork for the diet changes. But I'm continuing on to learn about the ketogenic diet as I try to take care of my sleep stuff. And maybe I need to be looking more concretely into sleep changes. There's one study, give me a second. This literature review called Sleep, Mood Disorders, and the Ketogenic Diet. I'm like reading it backwards. Potential therapeutic targets for bipolar disorder and schizophrenia. I mean, this is a literature review with like 200 sources. So I'm going through, this is basically just a means of finding other sources to look up some of the, biological impacts of sleep on bipolar disorder. So I'm going through that right now. And, the days have felt longer. I have not been distracted by the computer. I have not been distracted by the phone. I maybe spend, 10 minutes a day looking at like YouTube videos. And whereas before I'd be hours and hours and hours, and maybe YouTube would be on while I was working. It's not the case anymore. If I really need or feel like I want something playing in the background, I'll either play music on my record player or I got the Ken Burns Civil War. I'm one of these weird people who watches VHS movies, and I found the VHS box set of Ken Burns Civil War. So like I'll play that in the background, or I'll just like read while I'm eating a meal. And I emailed my church to volunteer on Saturday, to like volunteer at the service. And I'm going to go 2-stepping on Thursday, and maybe I'll even go 2-stepping on Saturday, but I want to go easy with like the changes, because I just want to focus on one change at a time, like focus on sleep. It's tempting to want to, I went climbing tonight, and it's tempting to want to like go into the gym and go hard again. I feel pudgy in my midsection. I'm feeling strong climbing. Maybe I'm at like an 8.5 out of 10 relative to my maximum climbing abilities. About 188 pounds. I'm pudgy in my midsection. My core is strong, but I can just have this subcutaneous fat. I want to focus on one change at a time, but here's the thing, is that I think some of these changes, such as like social changes, will positively impact the sleep. This is all interconnected. So I don't think that any of this can be done in a vacuum. I think that, the social things will impact sleep things. And like going 2-stepping is scary, and going to volunteer at my church is scary. Quite frankly, part of the incentive to volunteer at my church is because I want to meet people in the church, and maybe I want to meet like a down-to-earth Christian woman at my church, and like maybe I want to meet a woman 2-stepping. And those things scare me. But I think about, I go to yoga a lot, and the first time I ever went to a yoga class, I was horrified, and I wouldn't have gone unless I went with a friend. But once I went with a friend, I felt more confident to keep going, but I was still nervous. I see some people who will go into a yoga class, maybe you know, maybe a friend who's out of shape and who is nervous to go in because they're going to be embarrassed, and maybe they don't want to go to like one of the power flows, a heated power flow yoga class where there's all these in shape, beautiful people. Like, yeah, if I was out of shape and new to the studio, I would be insecure about that too. But I look at some of these friends, I'm like, your life would change so much for the better if you went every day and you did this thing that would embarrass you. And I can look at my friends and be like, you're not going to do it. I know you're not going to do it, but you would be better off if you did it. If I were looking at myself from that same perspective, it would be the same thing for going two-stepping and volunteering at the church. It makes me nervous, like standing there serving coffee or like helping usher people to seats makes me nervous. The same way leading a meeting today made me nervous, but it's like these things I'm really good at. And two-stepping, I'm a 8 out of 10 nervous about it, but I'm a 4 out of 10 skill on it. Like my nerves are not matched with the actual reality. And I think a big part of this journey is just trying to get my perception of myself accurately. I think this illness and other facets of my life have made me not realize what it is that I am and the things that I'm capable of. And maybe that's part of this journey. So today has been a very good day. The days feel longer and they feel more full. And even though I've had some anxiety today and in the morning, it has been like a really high quality day, and it's a 7.9. Again, the scale is, if a 10 is I wish every single day was like this, and a 0 is I can't live like this anymore, a 7.9. Anxiety levels really decreased significantly throughout the day. And I felt like creatively full. I felt intellectually full. Socially, not so full. Like, didn't really see anybody. Went climbing by myself. That's about it. See you tomorrow.